More positive news on the Brock Purdy front. He's out there practicing on this Thursday, and he still looks in line to return for the 49ers as the starter on Sunday against Jacksonville. Added bonus, Ricky Pearsall out there practicing with Brock Purdy today. Remember, Ricky missed the practice session on Wednesday because of some knee soreness following the 49ers win over Arizona. It was just a precaution, though, and Pearsall was moving just fine alongside Demarcus Robinson, who has now officially been removed from the suspended list. He takes the roster spot of Nick Bosa, who has been placed on injured reserve. No Juwan Jennings for 49ers at practice today, so we'll see on his status. Now, remember, when he played last against New Orleans in Week 2, Jennings did not practice until Friday, so it is still entirely possible that he comes back from the ankle injury and is able to participate against the very good Jacksonville defense on Sunday, but we're just going to have to wait and see. For what it's worth, I have seen Juwan in the locker room this week, so it's not like he's been spending his entire days in the treatment room. He just has not yet been out at practice. Jordan Watkins, the rookie receiver, also not out there with the calf injury, although that's something that we had expected. That seems to be a slightly longer-term issue, and the 49ers just don't want to put Jordan Watkins on injured reserve. And finally, C.J. West underwent thumb surgery on Tuesday. There's a chance that he's back out at practice with a cast tomorrow to try to get it, be a part of this 49ers game plan on Sunday against Jacksonville, but that is to be determined. Either way, I would expect C.J. West to be ready for the following Thursday against the Rams. Remember, the 49ers are about to embark on 2 games in 5 days. Jacksonville and then LA, and then some, overlap between Jacksonville and LA, because James Gladstone, the GM of the Jaguars, used to be under Les Snead with the Rams. So we use Jacksonville as an example this offseason when the 49ers were trying to stock this defensive line up with young players. I used that James Gladstone clip a lot. The GM was asked, why don't you just bring in a veteran defensive lineman to help solve some potential depth issues? And he said, we don't want a veteran in there to take snaps away from a rookie. We want these young guys to be able to develop. And the 49ers, who are using that Rams model, partly at least, to renovate their roster, applied to the same principle. And now this past game, you saw C.J. West, you saw Michael Williams, you saw Alfred Collins all combined for a critical pressure that was almost a safety of Kyler Murray. I think in the big picture, the 49ers offseason renovation, what they did, which was criticized by a lot of people, has started to yield some impressive results. So maybe they do know what they're doing in the building behind me. Maybe, just maybe. They've got a track record of really good success over the time that Kyle Shanahan and John Lynch have been here, but this is the first time that the 49ers have run into a cap situation as crowded as the one that they currently face. And yes, they had to make some tough decisions, but they also had to reverse the lack of success in 2024. And so much of how that defensive line has come firing out of the gate this year, even after Nick Bosa went down against the Arizona Cardinals, so much of that is rooted in the youth and the hunger of this unit and their ability to stop the run. We'll see if they can stop Travis Etienne against the Jacksonville Jaguars this week. More injury-related stuff, though, because this morning there was a lot of talk about Brandon Aiyuk after John Lynch said that he's not close to returning on KMBR. John actually didn't provide all that much new information on Brandon Aiyuk's status, and people are acting like there's been some kind of crazy negative development. This guy not only tore his ACL, he also damaged his MCL, and I think he might have also damaged his meniscus. It was the opposite of a clean tear for Brandon Aiyuk. Therefore, we knew at the time when this happened back in October, it took like a month for him to go to surgery, but we knew that this was going to be a long recovery. We have simply been guessing. We put in a placeholder date of week 6 because that would be the earliest possible time Brandon Aiyuk could come back based on the PUP rules and the fact that the 49ers played a Thursday night game in week 5. When John Lynch said today that he's not close to returning, it wasn't like there was some kind of setback or some kind of curveball thrown in all this. We've known the whole time that his knee got really messed up last year, that he's going to need a long time to recover. He's just not going to be back by the earliest possible logistical date when it comes to the injury list in week 6. Now, George Kittle might be back by then, but these injury overreactions have got to stop. It's crazy. I mean, it got to the point this past weekend when there was misreporting of what Kyle Shanahan said about Nick Bosa. And it worked in the opposite direction, where people were literally reporting that Nick Bosa didn't tear his ACL, even though we didn't know. It's okay to say, I don't know. This is in a holding pattern. Aiyuk's got to hit certain markers before he can have his practice window open and get back out there. There is no firm date for that yet. He's got to continue improving with the 49ers training staff, with all the medical personnel who are dealing with his return to play from this knee injury. What we do know is that he's moving decently well whenever he is out on that practice field, not officially practicing, but hanging out with his 49ers receivers, running some air routes on the side. Beyond that, we could say we don't know. We could say maybe week 6, probably not. Now that John Lynch said that, maybe week 10. 49ers and Aiyuk aren't even sure right now. He's got to hit those markers and move forward. So we don't know is an okay answer. It would have been fine on Sunday, and a lot of people wouldn't have been fooled into thinking that Nick Bosa's ACL was okay. It just seems that people want to take statements, twist them out of context so they can get their social media clicks. I don't know what it is, but it's just been a little wild on the injury front in both directions. Optimism, pessimism, whatever. People are just getting stuff wrong, and then they're getting upset about it. Sit back and just observe what's happening. Facts only. And facts only with Brock Purdy. He's looking good out there at practice. The participation level for Brock Purdy significantly higher than it was last week, based on what we can see during those early drills. Mac Jones has got a brace around his knee, which it was a little sleeve at practice today. During the game, he put on that bigger brace after he aggravated that knee injury, which happened in week 2 of the preseason against the Raiders. So one could probably argue that Brock Purdy is in better physical shape right now, injury-wise, than Mac Jones. However, they were both limited at practice Wednesday. It probably will both be listed as limited at practice today once that practice participation report does come out. And there's a reason why Adrian Martinez has also been getting first-team reps for the 49ers this week. So, 49ers, Jacksonville, 78 degrees, the weather on Sunday here at Levi's Stadium. So it's going to be around the same temperature as it was for last week's game against Arizona. Jacksonville also coming from a warm climate. Going to be important for the 49ers to possess the football better than they did early in that game against the Cardinals. They really set themselves up for potential failure against the Cardinals with the early 3-and-outs and the inability to hold on to the football in that first quarter. And what ended up happening is that they were in grave danger of being run out of the building. Thankfully, Jonathan Gannon gave the 49ers a bit of a break when he decided to punt on 4th and 1 from his own 37-yard line with the 49ers on the ropes, and that allowed San Francisco to regain their footing. But you can't count on that happening every single week, especially since I think that the Jags with Liam Cohn are going to be a little bit more analytically oriented. This is a former offensive coordinator coaching Jacksonville, not a former defensive coordinator. But speaking of last week, the 49ers are going to be wearing white jerseys again, this time not the 94 throwbacks. They're going to be standard road jerseys at home here at Levi's Stadium. So white jerseys, gold pants, and that is to mitigate the effects of the heat during these September games at Levi's Stadium. The hope is that once the 49ers get back here in October, I know there's a primetime game against the Falcons. I'm sure there's at least one day game coming up here in October, but the hope is that it won't be as hot as it is scheduled to be in September, but they can get a little bit of an advantage with the red, said red, I said yellow. I mean the white jerseys that they're going to have out on that practice field. So when I was growing up, I remember the 49ers would wear the standard road uniforms at home during the preseason at Candlestick Park. Now we get to see the standard road uniforms during the regular season here against the Jaguars at Levi's Stadium. All right, there's your update from today. We will talk to you soon. I've always pushed myself as an athlete, but swimming from Alcatraz, that's different. It's bigger, it's colder, and for me, it's personal. And that is why I called in the experts from Fitness SF to help me get ready for this.
The swim takes more than guts. It takes power, control, and relentless focus.
My journey to swim from Alcatraz starts here.